You're listening to the In the Mix podcast with Marvin Joles. Here's your host.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to In the Mix. And I know when I first kind of started doing In the Mix, I was like, hey, it's going to have some Blacktop Banter elements. You know, we're going to have guests from Blacktop Banter coming back and speaking once in a while. And this previous year, we're right now fresh in the new year. And I was thinking a lot when I was at Dirt World Summit in Dallas, just about the workforce. We had a lot, it was more prevalent of what we knew was coming, where some of the quote unquote boomer generation was going to be getting out of the workforce and we were going to see younger people coming in. Hopefully, ideally, at least that's what we're trying to do, is attract them into our industry. But I seen it pretty firsthand at Dirt World Summit, as some people were attending, but they were retiring soon. And then some people who had attended this event in the past weren't there because they had retired at this point. So I really wanted to bring in Three and Jackie Carpenter. Thanks so much, y'all, for being here.
Hey, thanks for having us.
We're so glad to be here. We had so much fun when we had the opportunity to work with you before. Very excited when we got the offer this time.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we kind of have been together in synergy for the last few years. You know, I've spoken in the previous podcast. I happened to be in the audience when I heard you all speak in Dubuque when we had a chance with the Chamber of Commerce there. And I was just so attracted to the way that you guys relay what we should do, the emotions, the psychology of hiring, retaining, attracting new talent, good talent, quality talent to get into our system and processes. That now the dynamic has changed a little bit, as with the integration of people being worried about AI taking our jobs, and ChatGPT can write all this stuff and they know everything and all I got to do is relay that. And I kind of have this love-hate relationship with AI. I do like it, but also it's kind of like when you go to a used car lot and the guy's like, this is going to be great for your family. And you're like, you're just saying that because you're trying to get a task accomplished. Yeah, you don't really care about my family. And I feel that way about AI. So before we get into all of that, I would love to give some context and have you guys give some context. We spoke a lot about People First, your book, last time you were on. And we keep drawing from that. I keep drawing from that when I think about the 5 steps and what I've learned from what you all have taught me in the past. So please introduce yourselves again, if you would be so kind.
Thank you so much. We're so glad to be here. Jackie and I have spent all of our careers in the private country club industry, around golf, around hospitality. And, you know, for a lot of folks, they're like, hey, how's that kind of transfer to my world? And it's really because our business is 100% based on people. And it's funny, when we think about every business, we think that core is really based on that idea of how do you create this incredible employee structure that then creates success and really makes your business thrive. So much so that a few years ago, Jackie and I wrote the book People First, which talks a lot about kind of how to, and we wanted that to be, you know, very manageable, a lot of takeaways, easy stuff that you could implement.
Yeah, very replicatable. You know, we saw that when you truly cared about your employees and you focused on creating a positive work culture and a positive employee experience, we saw how much the organization thrived. And not only that, but we also saw how much everyone's lives were enhanced and improved simply because of like this thing we were able to create in the workplace.
Well, the amount of time that we're spending at work in our lives, especially now, and even with things like the advancement of technology and so forth, we're still, I think, less people, and we're all in there doing more stuff. And I think the idea of that, there's something about that has to feel good for you. Yeah. If you're miserable in your work life, you're equally as miserable at home. Right. It's almost impossible, you know, to not carry that both directions. So we were really trying to create this environment that really helped. And we found that it translated, frankly, so far beyond the hospitality world and into, you know, almost every business.
Yeah. I had a conversation yesterday. I was in Chattanooga with a publicly traded company, Aztec Industries Incorporated, and they make asphalt equipment that you see like at asphalt plants. So the big cylinders that go up, those silos, all the batching stuff. And we had a great conversation, got all the way down to it. And I finally was able to ask the question of, what has made them so successful? And the answer, surprisingly, from Trevor, who is an incredible engineer, self-admitted complete geek about nerd about asphalt industry, his response was the people. And it was one of these things where I know that at my asphalt business, my small asphalt business in southwest corner of Wisconsin, it's all about the people. And then the contrast of this publicly traded company that's an international company. It's about the people. So here's this thing that isn't really on the paper, but yet the people who are in the midst of the everyday activities of business know that it's the people, right? So here's this, that makes it really, really hard to explain it because you can't really write it down all that well until you read people first. Then you're like, oh, somebody wrote it down really well. So with the way that people first came to life, and as this big transition is going from boomers exiting the workforce, what do you think that means for like skilled trades, even in your all's industry, the hospitality industry? There's been people who have developed relationships with the customer base over 20 years, 30 years that are in these leadership roles, and now they're going to be leaving. And that's a really delicate thing to try to teach people of how to be hospitable, which is wild to think about nowadays. You teach a young person how to take care of somebody who's 55, 60, 65, 70 out there on the golf course, and you have somebody who's 30 coming in to try to do that. What does that mean? Like, what does that mean for that type of transition in this industry?
I'll say I'm kind of scared, Marvin, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very, as you said, the perfect word, it's a delicate time. I mean, there's a lot of knowledge that's going to be leaving. And I hope that business leaders and, managers are doing everything possible to absorb and to keep those connections and relationships alive with the retired people before they leave, to try and download some of that. And that younger workers are feeling like they want to learn from, those tenured, I won't call them old, I'll call them tenured people. But
I'm going to start using that because I flat out just say old.
I know. And they might not be, really that old, but they're experienced, they're knowledgeable, they're tenured, they get in on a different level. And I think relationships and hands-on tasks maybe were even more important to that generation than they are today. Mm-hmm. And so I hope that people really are prioritizing downloading as much of that as they can.
All right, let's talk real for a minute. If you're in asphalt, concrete, or site work, you already know measurements can slow down a job or mess one up. That's why I want to tell you about Moser. It's a motion-based measuring tool that lets you measure area, volume, distance, and elevation with no signal or internet required. You can literally walk the job, measure stockpiles, patches, or takeoffs right from your phone. No signal, no problem. This is built for contractors who don't have time for guesswork. If you want faster bids, cleaner numbers, and fewer headaches, check out Moser. It's tech that actually works in the field, just like we do. If you want to find out more about Moser, click the link in the description.
I think that since post-COVID, you've seen these wild shifts in the way we all work, right? And when you think about it kind of from a big picture, 20, 30, and 40 years ago and beyond, people were built on building these relationships, having sales relationships, very interpersonal, both at work and with their customers, but, internally and externally in that sense. And I think that if you were to argue that the invention, very frankly, of the iPhone, there are many, many people now getting into the workforce who have never lived in a world where the iPhone didn't exist.
True, very true.
No offense, we are old enough to remember a world pre-iPhone, right?
Tenured enough.
So, right. And so it's funny though, because those folks that have been born since this are called digital natives. Yeah. And so their world is about social media. It's about texting each other. I mean, like it's
they don't want to call people.
It's computer driven. Yeah. It's that kind of communication. And I think what you're seeing that sort of collided with that then was COVID, and all of a sudden everybody was at home and this whole thing. Mm-hmm. Now everybody's getting back out in the workforce and people are going back to work, and this younger group is, joining our workforce and starting to realize very, very quickly that their learning curve isn't on intelligence. It's not on efficiency of technology. Man, they're there. They're there.
Yeah, they know that.
Where they're in trouble, though, or where they've got to focus is on these interpersonal relationships.
Correct.
And they are going to struggle if that doesn't exist, because things like AI, or whether it's just using technology, those are all fabulous tools. People are always going to need these personal relationships, and you want to do business with people you like.
The encouragement and the support and, the help, which isn't always necessarily.
Yeah, they're going to ChatGPT for help instead of going to Bob, who's 65, got a year or so left, and you can really get some things. What I have compared it to in my mind, you all know I'm in Nashville now for a good chunk of the time. They have some great sports teams here. Anyways, they have sports teams. We'll put it that way.
They have great facilities.
They have great facilities and sports teams. But my favorite team to go watch is Nashville SC, the soccer club.
Oh, and stadium and everything.
Yeah. And it's fantastic. It's a beautiful place. And this year we seen them play Miami, so we got to see Messi play. And it was the first time I'd ever really got to see, like, oh, I understand now. And here's the thing. Both teams scored goals, but it took 10 passes, a lot of rough play, and some direct stuff for Nashville to score a goal. When Miami had it, I watched Messi float and just effortlessly, smoothly do what he needed to do, because he's done it a million times, and lightly kick the ball in the goal and turn. And I'm like, that isn't just how it was. That sounds like, so for me, I think about these young people. Can they score the goal? Yes. But can they do it with finesse, quickly, make everybody get the feelings, get the warm and fuzzy, and let people be able to focus on what they take care of, because we have Messi over here that can do it. When he retires and leaves from Miami, it's similar to what we see in every other sport. It's a quote unquote rebuilding year, right? For the next 5 years is a rebuilding year, because you lose that person that has been making things flow smoothly, the grease to the gears, essentially. And I worry that's what's going to happen. Like, it's a lot of, can we get it done? Do we know it needs to get done? Yes. And it's not going to be in the way that it was before, because that finesse is going in. In you all's industry, the hospitality industry, can we serve somebody their food? Yeah. But can we do it to make sure that they're going to come back again, and that they leave a great tip, and that they want to take part in more of our amenities? That's the trick, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's kind of in the construction space as well. I want them to come back and choose more services from us over time. And I feel like you'll lose that with these senior, tenured individuals within the industry.
No, I think you're right about that. And I think it's going to start with all of our children. I mean, very honestly, it's the kids that are maybe before 20 that we're teaching to and almost forcing to.
That's a great concept. I never heard that, but I think that's a great concept.
Communication. This is going to sound really, really funny. We have this great group of friends, a couple, and Jackie and our kids went out with their kids. Their kids were about late high school years. And the young lady was scared to go order at the counter. So Mom did it for her. And one of the sort of lessons. She was a high school kid, but was like really intimidated. Mom just always did it, right? Yeah. And I will tell you, I watch Jackie do it. It's a great parenting trick, right?
We make our 9-year-old and 5-year-old order their own food now. Like, don't tell them.
Well, or go get
things. Be able to talk to
go ask people at the counter. And I use the example only because it's such a core skill, right? I grew up in a world, my dad kind of always pushed, and I worked at a really, really young age, but I worked in a hospitality environment. So in my young teen years, like 14, 15, 16, I was working in an environment by which I was interacting with all these people way, way, way older than I. Sure. So I had to learn to talk to them. I had to learn to look people in the eye, do all those kind of core things that we know, right?
Yeah.
But the digital natives, the folks that, are on screens, have kind of gotten away from that. We just have to remind them of those skills, because you are correct. We're seeing in many, many industries this sort of evolution of that generation getting out and retiring, and we've got to be able to bring some of that balance back.
Yeah, and I will just say, you said it perfectly. We have to remind them, but we might actually have to teach them. We might have to teach them, like, hey, did you know when a customer walks in, we want to make eye contact, we want to stand up straight, we want to smile at them, greet, like we might have to teach those things rather than be irritated that they're not doing it.
That's just how it is. And, I feel like I might have a case study on my hands between my daughter Elizabeth and my son Elijah.
Yeah.
Because Eli was with me in the field working from a very young age. And Elizabeth, she kind of got to do her own thing. And she's 16. Eli will be 15 next month. And they are complete polar opposites. Eli will walk up immediately, shake a hand, look somebody in the eyes, tell them his name, ask them what they do. He'll talk about what he does. And if there is anything that needs done where it's a person interaction, I send Eli. Nothing against Elizabeth, but she does not want to talk to another human if she doesn't have to, right? And Eli will be, he's the guy that you want to go in because he's naive about the repercussions of anything, and he'll just say it. He just gets it done. Yeah. He just gets it done. And even if he messes up, he's like, oh, well, then this is the solution. Where Elizabeth is so scared of messing up because she fumbles a little bit that she doesn't want to do it. So I think I agree. I totally agree. And I never had thought about, it's not necessarily throwing in the towel on the 20-year-olds or early 30-year-olds. I'm 40 now, y'all. So I'm getting there. I'm not tenured, but I'm getting there.
You look 29.
Thanks so much. I appreciate that. I tell my wife that every time that I look in the mirror. Honestly, truthfully, Jackie, you'll have to ask her when you meet her. But the thing is, it's not necessarily thrown in the towel, but you get to a certain point where we think in the long term, hey, we recognize this problem. We're able to see where we messed up as leaders, elders in our community, right? Our race, our community, the human race. And we're like, oh, well, we need to correct this by taking care of the children in a way, showing them, hey, we can't not do this because it's leading us down a negative path. At least when it comes to working and interacting with other humans. So when I think about
teaching all those other generations too, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
But there's this foundational approach, right? That like jumping back to our kids so that they get into these spots and can function like somebody would have done 40 years ago, right?
Yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow, knowing that, hey, we kind of messed that one up, but we didn't know what this thing was going to do. Yeah. Like we're fresh into it as well, but now we know. And COVID, as negative as it was, we're kind of looking at some silver lining stuff now and being like, oh, okay, we do want to go back and have human interactions, sit down with people, hang out, do those types of things.
So I was recently on my way back down to Tennessee, and I was going through Indiana, doing some heavy highway construction there, and I seen them paving at night, and they had these lights on the back of the paver that illuminated the whole area. You could see the skid steers, you could see the dump trucks, you could see everything. And these big balloon lights on the back came from Portable Lighting Solutions. So PLS is the only balloon light manufacturer offering a replaceable screw-in LED bulb that is field serviceable in minutes. They have a patented slide-in assembly, and they have a push to rapidly deploy mechanism. So you just push down on the light, and the light pops up and is illuminated. You push back down, it shuts off. And they're manufactured here in the USA. There's no patch kits needed. There's not a blower motor. There's no set screws, and they're UL certified. So if you're interested in putting one of these on your paver, I think I'm going to put one on the paver that we just got, and probably on our seal coat unit too, so that we can seal coat at night. You can hop over to portablelightingsolutions.net and put an order in and find yours today. They are ARA members, APWA members, and Women of Asphalt members as well. Once again, that's portablelightingsolutions.net.
I was talking to somebody on the podcast the other day. I can't remember who, but we were just talking about how like actually sitting down and eating dinner with somebody or lunch or whatever feels so much better than it did pre-COVID, which is a crazy thing to think, but it is. And it leads me to this question. You all have worked with a lot of generations, a lot of people. It's your specialty, it's your field. What are some of the biggest misconceptions that employers have about that next generation entering the workforce? Because they're not completely hopeless, but I think that we get a grand picture of, we lump everybody together. But I interviewed a gentleman yesterday named Trevor, who's 31, and he's got it. he's got everything that we would hope that somebody would have that was entering a workforce in different areas. So what are some of these big misconceptions that we have about some of those people?
I think the big one is kind of what you said, is that is this group going to be hopeless in comparison? No, they're just going to be different. So they're going to come in with skills a lot of us don't have that are older, right? And I mean, really good skills, efficiency, and the ability to use technology in a comfortable way,
And software and stuff
like that they're just totally fearless, right? They don't fear that at all. The thing that we have to educate them and obviously teach them is going to be the people side and those sort of soft skills stuff, right?
There we go.
The same thing. But I'll tell you, I think that as we dig in on this, it's figuring out the way to give each one of them permission to do and be successful in the things they know, but also to really take the time and have the permission to go learn these other things that we kind of know this is going to be harder and you need help.
Yeah. Jackie, I want to ask you about that.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of times people feel like the younger generation's lazy. I mean, we hear that a lot, and like people they don't want to work. And it's not that people don't want to work. They just think about work differently.
What attracts them?
They want a people first environment. They want it to work to feel good. And they want to know they have a boss that cares about them, that's going to invest in them. It wasn't very long ago, Marvin, where as an employer, it was all about us. Here's what we need. Here's what we want. Here's what we got to have. This is how you're going to do it. And if you don't like it here, then get out.
Yeah, that's why I'm paying you. Yeah, that's why
I'm paying you to be here. And if you don't like it, get out. Because I got 20 other people who want this job.
Yeah.
Today, we have to think of it as like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for coming to work today. I'm so glad that you're here.
What a tough pill to swallow.
I'm glad I get to pay you. I know you don't want to work 90 hours a week like I used to do. So tell me what you want, and I'll see if I can customize this to make you happy. Tough pill to swallow.
Oh, right? Bad one. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Well, Jackie talks a great deal about the idea that you're treating people like volunteers. Yeah, and I'll tell you this, my office is positioned in a funny spot. And as some of the other people that work within the office go home, I can work where I'm there in the evenings as well, right? And so a lot of these folks will be leaving. Well, they all walk past my office. And every single one of them, I'm like, thank you. Thank you. And if I'm walking through like a dining room where there's someone eating or whatever, when I'm even leaving, I'll be, hey, thanks for being here today. Great job. And I do a lot of those things where people realize I really appreciate that they're there doing the job. Now, I'm old enough to remember what she talked about a minute ago, where it's like, you got to be kidding. No, that is the reality. And it's not just the hospitality world. That's true.
That's everywhere.
People want to be appreciated. They want to be valued. And again, that's a hard thing for people who didn't grow up that way in the industry or didn't grow up that way working. And there's a lot of tenured and experienced people, managers, business owners who are having a hard time with that. And we just tell people, hey, it's okay that if that's uncomfortable or that feels different, but you've got to know what the expectation is of younger people today, or you're not going to be able to attract them and keep them because they're going to go somewhere else.
Well, and pay isn't, I mean, it's obviously important to everybody, but it's not the motivator that it used to be. Belonging to something bigger, knowing that they matter, working for
and
people.
Balance. Work-life balance. And in
the best effort,
hospitality, that's real difficult. In asphalt and construction, that's real difficult. And so how do we give people that balance, that opportunity to have work not dominate everything that that's how we grew up, right?
You're completely right. And I'm fortunate to be in a position where I get to talk to a lot of asphalt construction business owners. And when I ask them what the biggest, for the last 10 years, I don't know, maybe it's always been the biggest problem, but it's always been, what's the problem? Oh, finding good people, keeping good people, finding good people. And it's like, well, what are you doing? And you never really get an answer because it's like, well, it's not my problem. That's their problem. They're the person to begin with. And I think that if you ask them, what if I could solve that problem for you? And they'd be like, okay, what are you going to do? It's like, I'm not going to do it. You're going to do it. Right? You're going to learn how to attract, retain, and keep people there and keep them happy. That's what you're going to do. That that is when we talk about the tough pill, that's the tough pill, because it's like, that old school mindset, I'm paying them. They shouldn't have to do that. And we as the business owners don't have anybody to do that to us, because if we don't do what we're supposed to do, we don't get paid. And that's right. And that's the end all be all. And we keep our mindset in that mindset when it comes to our employees. Well, if you don't do what you do, you're not going to get paid same way as me. But that's not the case, because they can go work somewhere else, wherever. And they might love doing asphalt work or media work or whatever. But if the coffee shop next door, those people are all smiling and just loving what they're doing all the time, and they go there to get their coffee and then come here where they don't want to be, before too long, it's like, yeah, I like the construction industry, but I like being happier more than I like the construction industry. I'm going to put in my application there. I'll see y'all in a couple weeks. And that's the struggle. That's the issue. And I think the only solution is what I've heard you all talk about over these multiple amounts of time.
If you're a paving contractor, you already know the bottleneck: takeoffs. Either your estimator's burning a full day on measurements, or you're paying one of those services that takes 2 or 3 days to send something back. TrueTech fixes that. It's an instant estimating platform built specifically for paving: asphalt, striping, curbs, seal coating, the whole job. And it gets you a measured, bid-ready takeoff in minutes. Not 24 hours, not 72 hours, minutes. They've got construction drawing takeoffs coming, same instant turnaround. They even have a custom estimating and proposal tool too. Go to TrueTech.ai, send them a job you've already bid, and they'll run a free takeoff so you can see it for yourself. That's TrueTech AI.
When you think about the both construction industry and obviously the asphalt industry, and you think about these folks just like you, Marvin, who have been these, strong leaders who knew everything there was to know about that business, and you could go do it. I know this isn't the case with you personally, but I think my biggest recommendation for everyone in that world would be, look, we know you're business owners. We know you're the experts. We know you know more about construction or asphalt or whatever it is. Go hire somebody. And don't go out and hire an HR person who is there to do compliance.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, of course, that's important. But go out and hire people first people. Go hire people to own culture. One of the smartest things I ever did my whole life is I hired Jackie at this really, really large country club in Dallas. And that goes without saying. But
bonus
with
points.
that aside.
Nice job. I like what you did.
But very sincerely, we hired her to be, and I always called it the culture czar. She was in charge of culture czar for 400 employees. And that changed everything for our entire entity. And so I would tell people to do that. And, just a funny, quick thought is I heard something recently where what you guys do, is hard, period.
Yeah.
It's just hard. Great leadership is creating an environment by which you make a hard job easy and enjoyable.
Yeah, there was a question I had written down here. What role does leadership behavior play in attracting talent? We do everything. We get them in the door. They see a great thing. They get it. The money's right. It's a great work environment. I'm here at BuildWit today. The floors are clean. The temperature, ambient air temperature is just right. I've had coffee ready to go. I love it. But there's some companies where that's all there, but yet the retention is an issue. What are people, why are some companies failing at retention when they think they're doing everything right?
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
So Marvin,
I know I ask good questions, right?
You do.
I know.
The right one.
That's a good question.
Teeing it up. It all comes down to the employee experience. And this is not a phrase that a lot of us old timers.
What the heck is an employee experience?
Have you ever thought about what kind of an experience you're creating for our employees?
Huh.
And the truth is, we think a lot about our customer experience, right?
Sure.
And what kind of experience we're giving our customers. We want them to, have it be enjoyable and they're satisfied and even beyond satisfied. But what about our employees? And another tough pill to swallow today for managers and owners and operators is we have to care about our employee experience. And what that means is, how are our people feeling on a daily basis at work? Is it frustrated? Is it irritated? Are they being disrespected? Are they being mistreated? Are they confused? They're not being taught? Do they have the tools that they need? Are they happy? Are they excited to walk in the door? Are they know they can trust their manager to give them what they need to be successful?
The people interaction with one another. And that's a hard thing because, everybody is different.
Yeah.
But it's creating an environment by which no one believes it's okay to come into work, quote, grouchy.
Right.
It's not okay.
Right.
That's not a thing. Oh, no, that's just the way Bob is. Bob's a little...
Bob's got to get over it.
Got to change.
Yeah, got to change because the truth of today, Marvin, in the world that we're living in
it's a culture killer.
The culture is king.
Yeah.
Experience is everything. And so if your employees are not happy, if they're not being communicated with, you might be paying them great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But if they don't know when they're working next, if they can't get a day off, if they can't ask for help, if they're not getting the resources they need to be successful, guess what? Their Burger King at one time was offering a $1,500 sign-on bonus to go work at Burger King.
Yeah.
That's in the air conditioning, honey. You don't provide that.
And the expectation of quality is a little lower over there.
Yeah. Yeah. I can slack probably at Burger King
it's
and
an
get
old
$1,500
adage.
sign-on bonus.
There's an old adage, right? One drop of poisons the whole well.
Absolutely.
So if you got
Totally
Bob being grouchy, Bob, we can't have you grouchy. Tell me what is going on here. It just reminds me of you're talking about the customer experience or the employee experience, and then we talk about the customer experience. It's really similar. To me, trying to put those two hand in hand. We went to Disney World not last year, but the year before. I hated it. It was a long lines. It was in the heat. Food was expensive. All this stuff, and I look over, and the rest of my posse wasn't loving it. Right. And I was just like, this is a really weird dynamic and a challenge for a place that is trying to entertain and make everybody be the happiest place on earth. It's a tricky dynamic because it's a challenge. What would make me happy? I don't care about the rides. I don't care about any of that stuff. Would have been able to not have to stand in line forever and feel like I was getting my value for the money that I was spending.
Right.
And it's a tricky thing. I got another question about that simple change. What's one simple change then that we can do as leaders to try to keep good people longer? Like what's something easy, simple that I can do right away before I worry about changing my whole mentality? What can I do right away? You offer this good free coffee at the watering?
Yes.
It is funny, by the way, and your example, we were kind of laughing at because that's actually a great example. Those core foundational things. Are the employee bathrooms fantastic? Do I have a place to change my clothes if that's appropriate? Whatever that is, right?
Yeah.
My office, are they nice or is the environment nice, right? And those things like the coffee.
Good feng shui.
Feng shui.
Yeah, no, but there's something about the feel, right?
Yeah.
And, I think then you take that a little further. I would tell leaders today to put a group in a room. Everybody, all the staff, and say, here's the line in the sand, guys. As of tomorrow, it's a whole new show. And these things that we've probably let go, we're just not. Because as we evolve into the future to be successful, to thrive as an organization.
We're going to treat each other better. We're going to help each other. We're going to, this is a positive workplace. If you've got a problem, I want you to come and talk to me about it. I'm going to listen. Whatever it might be, where we're kind of putting it out there to let everybody know.
Well, culture is now is a focus.
And it's everybody's job. It doesn't just start at the top. It's got to be everybody, but it does start at the top.
I was just going to ask you, does the leader toe the mark? The leader has to toe the mark with that mentality.
They do, but they also, let's just be honest. There will be great leaders, great business owners who that isn't their jam.
Yeah.
And here's the thing.
What can I do then? Three?
I think that's okay though, because obviously I think like that. So as the leader of my organization, I've always sort of fit that one, but I know all kinds of people in my same position who are the opposite of that. And what I tell every one of those companies, every single one, is then you go out and you hire that person. And what you do is you stand up in front of everybody and you say, we are so serious about this. We have now found the person that is going to own that energy.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm telling you, it's worth anything you pay that person to do that.
But then you as the leader, if you've hired that person, then you need to default to that person saying, hey, you can't do this.
Yeah, you got to call me out on my stuff.
Right? You got to be okay with that. But it's really taking ownership of the culture, Marvin, is key. And if you want to attract people and you want to keep people in today's world, you have to be paying attention to your culture and you've got to be focused on how people feel when they're at work.
Absolutely.
And you guys have a much harder job because asphalt and construction are not easy.
No, yeah,
Honestly,
we're not
joking.
Yeah,
It's
we're not
extra hard for
directly.
you.
Yeah, we're not directly in touch with them all the time, and you have to send them off somewhere else
Yeah.
and have them come back and do different things. So it's a little tricky.
Folks, let's take a second to recognize a true staple in our industry. Ray Products and Chemicals is celebrating 50 years in business, and that doesn't happen just by accident. That's 5 decades of showing up, delivering, and supporting contractors just like you and me. And if you've been around striping at all, you already know 1-800-STENCIL. They've got one of the most complete stencil inventories in the game. And if you need something custom, they'll design it and turn it around fast with a quick proof and quote to keep you moving. But it doesn't stop there. RAE is a leader in traffic and marking paints, everything from waterborne and fast dry latex to acetone acrylic, chlorinated rubber, and MMA systems. They've also got preformed thermo, hot melt materials, and they're a top-tier Graco dealer with parts and repair support to keep your equipment running. If you're looking for a supplier that truly understands the industry, this is one worth knowing. Check them out at 1-800-STENCIL.com or rayprostores.com or give them a call at 1-800-783-6245. And from all of us, happy 50th to RAE.
I do want to shift gears a little bit, but I want to ask, just because it's such a good book and I've been able to go back to it, your guys' book, how does the 5-step people first framework impact retention? Because that's essentially what we were talking about. What in there does that?
Yeah, it's basically a step-by-step process for how
Yeah.
you can improve your retention and keep your people engaged.
What Jackie really was digging in, doing the research and doing the work on the book, the whole core idea was to write a foundation that would create what you've been talking about, Marvin.
Keeping people, yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
that was the intent. So what's your byproduct? Like you're trying to create this retention. How do you do it? You create a foundation, and that's
Yeah.
what.
And it starts, I mean, the 5 steps, it starts with how you're recruiting. It starts with your hiring, your developing and onboarding, your commitment, which is essentially developing people and, all of that. But the big one is the last step that's really got to be throughout all of the steps, which is care. And the difference is that today people want to know that you care, and you can't just say that you do.
Is that how I build trust?
Yeah.
Am I going to build trust across generational lines by caring? Is that how I'm going to do it?
Especially with the younger generations, back to the original conversation we were having.
But it's got to be genuine care, Marvin. I think we want to half-ass it maybe sometimes because we got all this other stuff to do, and you're like, okay, cool.
I got you a Starbucks gift card. What more do you want from me? I got you a Starbucks gift card.
I care about you, blah, 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 right? I get it, but here's really the biggest shift. Ooh, get your notepads out. Here it comes.
Okay. I've been taking notes the whole time.
Okay, good. So today, as leaders, we have to shift from believing that we are working together at work to believing that we are working together at life.
What's the cost of ignoring that? What's the cost of ignoring that, Jackie?
Yeah. Well, it's
lack of trust.
A lack of trust. You're going to see people leave. You're going to see employees check out. You're going to see people not show up to give their best. But the truth is, Marvin, is the investment of that is you're going to win lifelong relationships with employees. And you're not only going to enhance your life as a leader, you're going to enhance the lives of your employers.
Yeah.
I was in a meeting recently where we were talking about some really personal things. And I'm going to get real emotional saying this to you guys. Sadly, I imagine that at my funeral, the vast majority of the people that will show up will be the people I worked with. Because since I got in this business as a leader in the 90s, I am very confident that there is one thing. I could have made all kinds of mistakes, and who knows what I did, good or bad, irrelevant. There's one thing that uniformly will be said. Man, Three always cared about me personally.
Yeah. I was thinking about that recently too.
I think that really works. There's all kinds of things I would do different than some of the things we do every day.
Sure.
But I care enough about my people to give them kind of the latitude and the runway to do that. And I think that's important. But it also may be a situation that, yes, that main leader or that owner or whatever needs to show that they care. But again, if it's a little counter to who they are, find somebody and then they own that.
Yeah, I was thinking about that recently. My father passed away last month, and we were at my father's service. My son Eli was next to me, and admitted to him, I was like, "You're gonna have to do this for me someday. I have no idea how to do this, if I'm doing it right or if I'm doing it wrong. But everything that I learn, I'm going to teach you because I genuinely don't want this to be. I don't want it to be hard on you." And as I was having that conversation, I started thinking about my own self. And I was thinking the same way that you are, Three, along those same lines. Like, I think it's going to be the same type of situation. I'm going to have people from the industry that I've became friends with, that I've worked on. We call them battles, but it's literally when we know we got to turn the tide or change the direction or focus our industry in certain areas in different directions. And as I was thinking that, my friend Kyle from Michigan, there's no real easy way to get from Michigan to Wisconsin, right? My friend
No.
Kyle from Michigan walked through the door, and he had met my dad one time, but he wasn't there for my dad. He was there for me. And I fell completely apart when I seen him. And I just was like, it made me, I don't know what to do with a friendship like that. Like because I had to admit to Kyle, like, I don't know that I would have came over to Michigan, right, to do that. And he's like, maybe that means I need to do work, or maybe you need to do some work, right, for us to make that happen. But it made me just think about the context of that and what's important. And it also made me feel like maybe I'm doing something right, even though I feel like day to day, I try to admit when I'm not doing something right. But I genuinely agree with that. And it comes down to leadership, even though it doesn't feel like that's a leadership thing, right? Your relationships that you have with people doesn't feel like that, but it is you doing the right thing to foster something beyond a paycheck or success or money in our bank account or any of that stuff. And I think that what I learned a lot by studying what you all speak about quite a bit is that real leadership might look different in a lot of areas, but when it comes down to what's really important, it looks the same amongst the really important stuff and people that do it well.
True story.
If 2026 is the year you want to make more money in your business, it starts with two things: staying busy and getting paid faster. That's why I use Jobber. Jobber is software built for blue-collar businesses, and it's designed to help you book work ahead of the busy season and keep your cash flow strong all year long. Their marketing tools help you get found, look professional, and stay booked. Not just when the phone's ringing, but before the rush even hits. And once the work's booked, Jobber Payments helps you collect deposits up front and get paid faster, so you're not chasing checks or waiting weeks for the money that you've already earned. Bottom line, Jobber helps you stay busy and stay paid. If you want to make more money in 2026 with software built for blue collar, try Jobber for free today. The link's in the description.
Marvin, I just want to share, we're kind of kicking off the new year, and a lot of people don't know this, and this is kind of one of those shift things, but people are lonely today.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 years ago, the Surgeon General declared loneliness an epidemic in the United States, and it's not getting any better.
No.
And so we've talked a lot about this already, like those interpersonal skills of people talking to one another and asking the questions. As a leader, you might be the only person that those people are talking to all day long. Like they might go home and literally not talk to another human being.
Yeah.
So how does that make the environment that we're creating, how we're acting at work, how we're treating people at work, how do we show up differently now that we think about it from that way?
Yeah.
Right?
I was thinking about that. It's a really good point, because it's a dynamic. If you're lonely and there's nobody else around, that makes sense to a human being.
Right.
But if you're lonely in an area where there are people, that's where all of a sudden there's a big issue, right?
That's right. That's 100%
That's really tricky.
So
Great
it can
point.
simply just be asking questions, hey, how are you doing? Martin, did you see the game last night? Or, hey, how's your new puppy doing? Or, hey, I heard your son.
How's Nashville?
How's Nashville?
Tell us about Gallatin.
It's those kinds of things that are so simple and so, frankly, old school, right?
That's right.
Like going back to that older generation. That's how they operated. That's what they did. That's what helped connect them to the workplace, and probably, frankly, kept them as loyal for as long as it did. Was they felt like they were connected at work. They felt like what they did mattered. Their friends were at work. It was a community.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we need to focus on today and create in our organizations. It builds the culture. It elevates the employee experience when I don't feel lonely at work.
Yeah. I feel like we're skating, right? It's like a lot of businesses in the construction space. They had a heyday where they built up a big bankroll, and even though they didn't quite figure it out, they were able to skate till they retired or whatever. I feel like that's kind of what we're doing with our workforce is like, hey, we built up this big headway. We got a lot of money. We can give people a lot of money to turn the tide and keep them here. But eventually, we're going to run out of those resources to keep people there and to do that type of stuff. And we're actually going to have to do the work again. And I feel like you can see quite a bit of shift in that. One of the biggest separators that I've seen between companies that absolutely crush it and scale at a good rate is the quality of people that they have in the positions, their whole culture.
And the investment in those people.
Yeah.
Not only dollars, but everything.
Yeah. I got a good friend, Jay Duran, and he has a business called Culture Matters. And for a long time, I was like, I don't know that this is a viable business. And now my friend Jay does really, really well because culture matters more than ever, right?
I totally agree.
He had such a great foresight. So I want to touch on one more thing before we close out. We talked a little bit about technology and the human element. I had this conversation with the guys at Aztec yesterday because they are integrating technology and AI into the actual equipment. We can get work done twice as fast, and we can control things from our home at the asphalt plants that we used to have to go there and turn the knobs by hand. I'm like, that's great. It's freeing up all this time. You know what we're doing with that time? Doing more work. It's literally, we're filling the time with more work. So I don't think necessarily that AI and whatnot is going to take jobs away. I think it's going to make us more efficient so that we're still going to spend that 8 hours, 10 hours, whatever it is we as humans spend during our day working. We're just going to get a lot more done on paper during that amount of time. So how is technology changing some of the workflows in industries that you all work with in the hospitality? Because to be honest with you, I would argue that every business is almost a hospitality business at this point.
Yeah.
Post-COVID, they all are.
Yeah. If you work with people, you're in the hospitality business. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys see technology replacing people?
No, as a matter of fact, I agree with your premise almost completely. I do think that all the technology, I think the AI thing is great. I think all the different technologies, all the softwares, like we implemented, 8 or 10 new softwares in last year within my organization. And I mean, it has changed our efficiency dramatically. Right. However, to your point, it hasn't changed my head count at all. It's changed what we're doing and what we're able to focus on. And that's great because we are focusing more on people.
Yeah, you do better work. Right.
Yeah. And we're able to do some nifty things from an efficiency perspective. And I think that everyone has to have that perspective. They should not be negative on the technology, but they should realize that it's not going to be their solution. It's only a tool.
Yeah. And it's a great resource. And I would urge you to learn it and understand it and help it to help you. But I caution people to get really comfortable as the default. So
don't lean into that.
The digital natives that we were talking about earlier. I read some research recently about they are losing a very important critical thinking skill. Now, I don't know about for the asphalt and construction industry, Marvin.
We haven't had critical thinking skills. That's why we're in this industry.
I feel like that was kind of an important one because the answer is they don't think anymore. They go, hey, who performed the halftime show last night? They just go, oh, who performed the halftime show? And we type it into our phones and they don't sit and think about it. We can't allow AI to take those skills from us, but we can utilize them to make us faster. Like, hey, write me an email that in response to this, woman who's complaining about blah. Yeah. The other thing I would say with AI is when it frees up your time, then we need to use that time connecting with our people and getting out away from our screen, away from our desk and be out on the floor, so to speak, talking to people, connecting and using that time. I think that is the best investment that you can make in AI is getting rid of some of the tasks that you can check off your list so that you can then go connect with your people.
I did sometimes when I tell people how I use AI, they're like, what in the world? Because I treat it like it's my best friend, like my confidant, my best friend. And I literally tell it everything, what I'm thinking, how I'm feeling, how Eli did at wrestling, that one of the trucks was broken down, all this stuff. But when we did a conference, we actually did the Dirt World Summit in Dallas this year. And I treated it just like a consultant. And I was like, I'm going to be here over this amount of days. What people should I be looking for specifically? And what type of conversations should I be having? This is the classes that we're going to be talking about. Which ones should I attend to help me achieve the goals that I've shared with you over the next year, right? Because for me to draw that up by scratch and have to go through everything and look at it is crazily inefficient, right? And it's not like it's having the conversations for me. I still have to go out and do this, but it's helping me function better and be more efficient and get more done in a gap amount of time that might ultimately make things better for me. So I totally agree with that. I think the biggest thing, honestly, there was a question I was going to ask you about how we do it without losing the human connection, but you guys already tackled that because you're just completely studs at all this stuff. So we'll finish with some practical takeaways. And if a contractor or business owner is overwhelmed right now, where should they start? Where do we look when it comes to our people?
I used to be 300 pounds, 297 to be exact. And if you're around me at asphalt or construction expos or in my circle, you remember that Marvin. I'm not him anymore. I've all but eliminated the choices that got me there in the first place. And I'm down about 100 pounds over the last few years, all from making better choices. I know it's hard in our industry to find time and that those gas station stops are way too convenient, but we in our industry aren't getting enough of what we need to live healthy and stay productive, with those choices being our constant. Besides prepping my own food, I choose foods and supplements from First Form to help me get to where I need to be, along with a regular exercise routine. You've seen my posts over the last few years about using First Form's products to get what I need into my body on the road and keeping out excess of what I don't need or want. I use at least one First Form product every day to ensure I stay on track. I've worked way too hard to let this slip. If you use the link in the episode description, you'll get free shipping on orders over $75 from First Form today. If you reach out to me personally via DM or email, I would love to tell you about what I use and my experiences using First Form's products.
Personally, I like the idea of starting with a very simple 5-6 question employee survey, talking about the employee experience so that it would help that leader think, where do I need to go? What do I need to do? Mm-hmm. This idea of potentially investing in somebody who then could own that form if that's the need. They would also, through that little survey, which again is so easy.
It's easy.
I was going to say, if you're feeling overwhelmed and now 3 says, we want you to do a survey, you probably fell off your chair and are...
A survey's got to be easier than what they've been going
literally
through.
What you can do on a Word document, write out 5 questions, and they can be things like, what do you like about working here? What don't you like about working here? What do you want management to know? What would you change about working here? And what can I do to keep you for the next year?
Think how simple that is. Sincerely.
Piece of paper, old school. I'm with you, old school. Hand it out to everybody and say, there's a box on my desk. Throw your surveys in there by
Especially if you're a small business, right? If you're 10 and under, 10 employees and under.
If you Survey Monkey or something fancy, awesome, more power to you. But you can do it old school and that matters. Yeah. And then start looking at some of the answers. Pick one thing that you can do, something that's maybe a common theme, or start having conversations and go, hey, I noticed 7 or 8 people said they don't like the break room. Okay, what could we do to the break room to make it better? Whatever it is, right?
Sure.
But it's starting with something and it's letting your people know you're listening, you want their feedback, you're caring about them.
It's showing that focus, it's showing the caring thing especially. And then it's going to help give you good direction because, it's not like everyone's looking for more stuff to do.
Right. You can't do all of it. You can't fix anything, but you might learn something you didn't know. And that's a great place to start on how you start moving forward. It's going to be, this is Three's favorite line, but how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right?
Yeah.
You got to
He said that in Dubuque, the very first time I heard you.
I know.
And it was still one of my favorite sessions by all time. And I attend a lot, guys. So that's what, first of all, what has attracted me to you all. But then I get to ask really good questions. And you seem to have the answers every time.
Well, we don't have the answers to everything. But,
but you have the ones that I ask. And that's good enough for me. And so we'll end with one more. You worked with a lot of organizations all over the country when it comes to hospitality and just businesses in general. What's one habit that you see organizations that are thriving practice consistently? what is it? What is it that they're doing consistently that helps them thrive? Even if there's problems outside of the people, it seems like they get handled because we have a good foundation when it comes to the people. So what is the habit that you see companies that are thriving in that area? What is one of those habits that they do consistently?
Yeah, they're focused internally. They care more about what's going on in their organization with their people, their culture, all of that, than they care about what's going on in the outside world. And that obviously is people first, but it's a big thing. I mean, we learned during COVID that if you don't have employees, it doesn't matter how great your construction company is, how great your product is, how great your service is, because you, Marvin, can't do everything.
Correct. I try.
Yeah, I know. Miserable. And you can't. So you have to have the people. And as with your people, you're only as good as your weakest link, right? The weakest link in the chain is the one that breaks it. So that has got to be the internal focus, is what I would say. What would you add?
No, I would agree with that 100%, because creating that foundation then creates the byproduct of great service, great product, the whole thing. But it's not the focus. It's this foundation, right? And I got to tell you, if you think of, I mean, Marvin, you study this just like we do.
Yeah.
When you think of great companies all around the United States, and it doesn't matter what it is, you just think, boy, I love this company, or man, I get my coffee here, and boy, they're great, and whatever it is. I promise you, the core thing they all have in common is they're focusing on the people.
It's how we're making people feel. Customers, but also our employees. How do people feel? And if they're bogged down, if they're frustrated, if they're stressed out, if they hate coming to work every day, that's not a good thing. They're probably looking for a job elsewhere. But if people feel good when they're there, they're respected, they're cared about, they might be working hard and sweating in the 100-degree temperature, but they are treated well and they're respected and they know that they are valued, they're probably going to stay.
Yeah. Thanks so much, you guys. I really appreciate you joining me today. It's been fantastic. It's always such a good conversation. I feel like there's like mission statements kind of get adjusted a little bit after every time that we speak. And you kind of, as a visionary integrator relationship, people start to cast their visions a little bit more on their employees and whatnot after you hear conversations like this. So where can we learn more about your work and the People First book? Where can we check this stuff out?
Well,
I think I got mine on Amazon, didn't I?
Yeah, Amazon, Barnes & Noble is where you can find the book. And then, we're just at 3andjackie.com, all spelled out, 3andjackie.com. Yeah. You can email us at info@3andjackie.com. We're on LinkedIn and Facebook. And
I hear you all are coming to Nashville to speak at some point, possibly coming up.
Yes, fingers crossed that we will be.
Make a point to come.
We'd love to help other organizations in the asphalt and construction industry. So tell us what we can do to help.
Absolutely will. All right. Thanks so much, you two. I really, really appreciate it for joining us today.
Enjoy it. Thank you, Marvin.
Take care. Happy New Year.
Thank you so much. As always, if you're listening or watching online, you can hop over to inthemixmj.com, sign up for our newsletter there. You'll see some articles. You also see the most recent podcast link there with some highlight notes as well as words from our advertisers and sponsors. For myself here in Nashville, it's kind of gray and gloomy and overcast, but I can't complain. I'm not in the frozen tundra way up north where Three and Jackie are. This has been In the Mix. Thanks again. And remember, asphalt is opportunity. Peace.